Hi, I'm Dr. K, and in this video, I'm going to show you 5 common mistakes people make when they keep a food diary and how keeping one can actually speed up your weight loss. And at the end of the video, I'm also going to show you exactly how to keep the most simple yet effective food diary. And as you may know, at my weight loss clinic and also via Zoom, I've helped hundreds of women over 40 from all over the world to lose weight once and for all. And one of the first things I tell them about is mistake number 1, not keeping a food diary. Very, very occasionally at the first session, a new client will say to me, I refuse to keep a food diary. And I actually have to tell them that if that's the case, I can't work with them because the food diary is that important. And it's impossible for me to get them the results they desire without it. So why should you keep a food diary? Well, number 1, it shows you exactly what you're eating. Sometimes a new client will say, I don't eat anything. I don't even know why I'm overweight. And then after a week of keeping a food diary, it's extremely obvious where things are going wrong. It was only by keeping the food diary that they could see it. Number 2, it shows eating patterns. Specifically, you're looking for overeating triggers and also your eating rhythm, which is when you eat. For instance, does eating too little for lunch make you more hungry in the afternoon that then leads to snacking? Number 3, a food diary also gives you awareness that stops mindless eating. As a client of mine once said, it's harder to have that 5th canapé when I have to write it down later. And number 4, and this last one is very important for natural long-term weight loss. The awareness that a food diary brings helps you to reconnect with your natural feelings of hunger and fullness. And many of my clients had completely lost that connection before they started working with me. Now take these 4 things together, and it's no surprise that some studies have shown that people who keep a food diary can lose twice the weight of people who don't. But not just that, I've found that clients who are most effective at keeping a food diary develop that awareness and connection to their hunger and fullness that actually gets them results quicker. The food diary speeds up their weight loss. And later I'm going to show you exactly how to keep the most effective food diary to speed up your weight loss. Mistake number 2, not keeping it simple. The food diary cannot be a pain in the neck. If you're keeping it over 12 notebooks, 3 spreadsheets, and 2 apps, the system is going to break. I tell my clients if it takes you more than 80 seconds a day to complete your food diary, then you're doing something wrong. And if it only takes 80 seconds a day, what's the excuse to not do it? I remember I had a client once, and she admittedly had a very busy life, but she turned up at a session without a food diary saying that she was too busy. And I said to her, just go to bed 80 seconds later and use that extra 80 seconds you have to fill out the food diary. But how can it only take 80 seconds a day? Well, later I'll show you exactly how I advise my clients to keep the most easiest and yet most effective food diary. Mistake number 3, not recording immediately. One of the biggest mistakes people make when keeping a food diary is not writing down what they eat and drink as close as possible to the moment they have it. If you don't do that, things will get missed, especially snacks, but also drinks. I had a client once who would fill out her food diary at work in a notebook, and then she would go home and copy what she'd written in the notebook onto her computer. But one day she forgot and left her notebook at work, so she had to write down from memory what she'd eaten. When she later recovered her notebook and compared what she'd written there to what she'd written from memory, she was shocked at how different the food diaries were. She had forgotten a lot of the smaller snacks and drinks. Mistake number 4, adding in calories. When it comes to keeping a food diary, adding in calories is a mistake because, 1, depending on how you're counting calories, let's say you're using an app, which is the quickest way to do it, it still takes extra time to enter in exactly what you ate and the portion size in order to generate a calorie count in the app. This extra time makes you less likely to keep the food diary in the first place. And 2, getting calorie count numbers warps your decision making. You start making decisions based on numbers instead of listening to your body's signals of hunger and fullness. It's not uncommon for people who count calories to think things like, I've got 200 calories left today, maybe I can have a chocolate bar to end the day, instead of, am I actually hungry? And mistake number 5, not tracking drinks. One very easy mistake to make with food diaries is not recording beverages. Not recording drinks like juices and sugary soft drinks can miss significant calories, but by far the biggest factor is alcohol. If you go out for dinner and write down what you eat, you might have had a very light meal and think that was okay. But when you include in your food diary entry the 3 glasses of wine you also had, then suddenly it looks like a very different meal. and it's easy to think of things as just fluids that go under the radar. But these things can be a big contributor to weight gain. So, how exactly should you keep a food diary? Let me tell you exactly what I tell my clients. So back in the day, I used to send clients a food diary in a Word document, and clients would fill it out and send it back to me before the session. But I soon discovered that many clients found it didn't work for them, and I realized that my best chance of actually getting a food diary from some clients was to be as open-minded as possible about what form a food diary took. So some clients would turn up to the clinic with beautifully crafted notebooks, others would use spreadsheets, and others would turn up with crumpled up stacks of papers that looked like they'd been eaten by a dog. But over the years, as more and more clients have shifted to online and now they come from all over the world, it's changed how people present their food diary to me. But there's one method that seems to work the best now, and let me share that with you now. Clients will enter their food diary into their phone in the Notes app. This means their food diary is always on them, easily accessible, and because it's always on them, they can record things as soon as they've eaten them. And in the food diary, I keep it very simple. I just get them to write down the day, the date, the time, and then what they ate, with no measurements or calories or weights needed. Day, date, time, and what they ate. I also ask my clients to write down their daily weight into their food diary. Now you might be thinking, if our aim is natural, healthy, long-term weight loss, which it is, why are you getting me to write a daily weight into my food diary? Well, I'm glad you asked. And if you want to know why I strongly suggest my clients weigh themselves every day, click on this video to find out more.